Hi, my name is Ola Sukomi. You see, I've been thinking about this for quite a while now. So I want this to be more of a conversation instead of a teaching. So in case you have any perspective, I'm very curious of hearing your side of the story. So you should put it in the comment section. Just go straight to the comment section and be willing to drop your own perspective about this. In this video, I want to talk about the most important recipe to attaining the good life. The good life. The good life. Okay, but let me start from this area of my understanding and how I've been thinking about this. Have you ever wondered why it is that the most important thing in which you need to learn in order to attain the good life are the only thing that nobody tends to teach you? You see, I've always been curious, why is it that it is only when I grow up that I have to figure these things out myself? Isn't that something? You see, I've been thinking about this. You see, ever since we were young, they keep teaching us. Ever since we were a cradle, they keep teaching us to not put our hands inside fire, to not crawl to this side, do not crawl to this area, do not do this and do not do that. They keep teaching us, but they always omit the most important aspect of actually leading a good life. It's quite unfortunate that our parents actually have experienced this kind of thing, but they lack the fundamental of actually structuring it to teach us these particular things. I don't know how it is possible to omit and not be able to turn their experience into commodity to teach us, and we always end up having to figure it out on our own. Ever since we were a kid, we went from kindergarten to nursery, from nursery to primary, and everybody we meet on this journey that tends to be older than us, they teach us their own perspective of life, the way they perceive something to be, this is good and this is bad, this is wrong and this is right. They teach us their own side of their understanding, and yet they always omit this most important thing that we need in order to attain the good life. Isn't it crazy? We went from primary to college, from college to institutions. Some go to university, some went further ahead and do masters, diplomas, and went further, learning the theoretical aspect of life. See, it is a mystery to me how they tend to omit some of the most important things, like knowing fully well that at some point you will go broke, at some point you will have money, at some point you feel bad. It is the part of life. You feel bad, and at some point you will feel good. And it is crazy that most time they will not teach you this, and you will have to figure it out on your own. Isn't it crazy? You see, now my question is, if actually the theoretical learning of life is actually the bedrock of success, why do most of us fall short? Why do we fall short of success in itself? Why do most of us still lead a life of mediocrity instead of a life of sovereignty and abundance? I really can't figure out why. If this aspect of learning is actually the most important thing we need to learn in order to attain the good life, why do most people still lead a life of mediocrity? It is a mystery to me. So, to talk about my own perspective of attaining the good life, the most important recipe to attaining the good life. And if you're curious and you wonder what exactly is a good life, what exactly is good life? You see, my own definition of good life could be different from yours, and your own definition of good life could also be different from your neighbors. Our definition of good life is quite different from one another. One I tend to perceive as, this is a good life, this is a life of ease, a life of harmony, and a life of peace, could be different from your own perspective of what a good life is. But there is something called a fundamental, which is the main recipe to attaining this thing called the good life. And when I'm talking about fundamentals, I'm talking about the basics of life. It is like wanting to plant a corn. The most important things you need is just the soil. You need the soil, right? You need water, and you need the sun. Then you need to take care of the plant. It is the basic. And if someone come around and tell you that there's another fundamental to creating these things, there's another fundamentals to doing these things, it is 100% fraud, because fundamentals are the laying down principles of life in itself. So when I'm talking about the most important recipe to attaining the good life, as for me, the most important recipe to attaining the good life, and after understanding this recipe, you can simply construct a beautiful life on it gradually. And the most important recipe to attaining the good life is emotion. You see, emotions are tricky. Emotions are tricky. Emotions are corny. And yet, it is the most powerful thing that can actually change our life just within a second. Just within a second, emotion can change one's life. Human's emotions can be tricky, but coming to the understanding and figuring it out is the most important thing. I come to realize that as money is the currency in which you spend in reality, to buy things, to create a good physical appearance, to create a good life for oneself, emotions and how we feel is the currency of the mind. Being able to allocate your emotion the right way is one of the most powerful things you will ever have. But if you're curious and you wonder, what exactly is this thing called emotion? Yeah, I understand. It is you. You know your emotion, right? You know your emotion. But quite unfortunately, I've experienced my life leading a life of expressing emotion instead of understanding emotion. Expressing emotion or understanding emotion, both are great, but it is appropriate that one actually come before another. It is very much appropriate to actually understand why you feel the way you feel before acting on how we feel. You see, life is beautiful. Life is beautiful. And if you're curious about what exactly emotions are, you see, I listened to a podcast on Jim Rohn where he said, emotion in itself is an intelligent management of civilization. So, emotion is an intelligent management of civilization. I don't think there's another way of putting it. I think that is just the perfect definition of emotion. But in order to come down a little bit, I'm going to say emotion is just the translators of human feeling. As simple as that. Emotion is just the translator of our experience, both past experience and both the present experience, just to combine it together and tell us how to feel. Emotion is tricky enough to always try to take charge of its host. Emotion always try to control. Emotion is always there to feel like it is in charge. But coming to the understanding of how this thing called emotion work is one of the most powerful things you could experience in life. In order to break it down in a very, very, very simple terms, I'm going to say human emotion. You see, human life is just like a pieces of land. Let's say every human being is allocated maybe like an acre of land. And the more we grow up, the older we become. Every of this land, every experiences in which we accumulate in life, every experiences we gather together, they are like a brick and a cement given to each one of us in order to construct our own life, in order to construct a life for ourselves. And now you could have seen a beautiful house, you could have seen a mansion, and you could have seen a person standing with a beautiful features and everything is just perfect. But unfortunately, have you ever entered into a beautiful mansion that is filled with cobwebs and trash? So I'm going to say that human's emotion is like an interior design of human's life. Being able to feel a sense of harmony with oneself. Being able to come into your own self and feel a sense of peace, a sense of harmony, feeling congruent with yourself and feeling just calm in your own self is one of the most powerful feelings someone could have. I think I don't expect this video to be this long, but I'm just talking. It's quite fun for me actually. So I'm going to say the most important thing in order to attain the good life is human emotion. Coming to terms with your emotion. Why do you feel the way you feel? Ask yourself, why are you feeling the way you're feeling? And if you figure out why you're feeling the way you're feeling, is it important to feel this way? And if you ask yourself, okay, this way I'm feeling is actually important, ask yourself why. Why is one of the most fundamental questions we should be asking. Being aware of your emotion is the beginning of everything. So in order to attain a good life, you have to be aware of your emotion. You have to become more aware of your emotion. Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Why are you sad? Why are you happy? You see, some of the times it is crazy that we express emotion just because of expressing emotion. But being able to understand why we do some things that we do is the beginning of another kind of life, in which I can say life is beautiful. Life is beautiful in itself. It is beautiful. It is more of a mystery to me. And I think the mystery of life is what makes it more beautiful. But coming to terms with awareness, self-awareness, and having to question some things is the beginning of enlightenment. Being enlightened with oneself is the beginning. You see, emotion in itself is the channel in which everything goes through. You cannot take a decision right now without a sense of emotion. You cannot lift a finger right now without a sense of emotion. Everything in life goes through emotion. It goes through feelings. Why do you want to buy the thing you want to buy? Why do you want to take a perfect picture? Why do you want to do this and do that? Emotion is attached. It is until you come to terms to understand that actually I'm doing this because of this. Emotion is tricky. Emotion is cunning. Coming to the awareness of why we feel the way we feel and why we act the way we act is the beginning of a great life. I just, the fact about this video is just to pull our attention to our emotion. Why are we feeling why we're feeling? And in order to attain the good life, in order to attain a life of harmony, a life of peace, we have to be aware of our emotion and try to control it instead of the emotion controlling us, trying to put it in its place, trying to tell it what to do, trying to use it instead of it using us. I'll be glad if you can put your comments below. I'm still learning about life. I'm still learning quite a lot of things. So I'll be glad if you can put your comments in the description below. Just tell me your own perspective and what you perceive to think this is the most important thing in order to attain the good life, in order to attain a life of peace, in order to attain a life of harmony and a life of ease. So that's about it on this video. I'll be glad to see your comments, drop a comment, and that's about it. Thank you for watching. And I'll be in the comment section reading your comments. Thank you.